Hey, welcome back. So you've got your data uploaded into Tableau. We've gone through the different variables and kind of mapped the relationship between an Excel spreadsheet, which you're familiar with, and the interface of Tableau. And now we're going to talk about the Tableau workbook. So when you upload a data set into Tableau, you go from being on the start page, and once you've connected to that data, you get offered a workbook. So this is a workbook. A workbook contains a series of sheets. These are all down here. Our data source is our first sheet, and we sort of explored this before. And then after the data source, we've got a variety of other sheets. So this would be a worksheet where we'd make an individual visualization, and we can make as many of these as we want. In addition to that, we can also create a dashboard where we put multiple visualizations together in a single view, or we can create a story. That would be this link down here, dashboard, story, where we can take a series of visualizations, add some text, and create a story where our audience would navigate one visualization after the other, and we would integrate a narrative. So between the data source, worksheets, dashboards, and/or stories, that's what's in our workbook. So in this worksheet view, there's a handful of things that we want to take a look at or to become familiar with. So the first thing that I like to look at over here is the data pane. This is called the sidebar. The sidebar contains the data pane and the analytics pane. We can make this go away if we want more room, and we can make it come back if we want to see what's going on. In the data pane, we can see our data source, sample superstore, and then we can see the name of each of the columns from our Excel spreadsheet. These are our variables, or as Tableau likes to call them, these are fields. The line in the middle here separates what Tableau calls dimensions. These are qualitative variables like category name, geographical locations, or dates. These would be similar to a categorical variable, if we've seen that in previous classes. Down below this line, we've got our measures. Measures are numerical variables. They could be discrete, like number of pets you have, or continuous, like a weight or a height measure, which you could really measure into millimeters. So it could be either discrete or continuous, but these, generally speaking, are numbers. We call them measures. These, generally speaking, are categorical variables. We call them dimensions. There's some nuance to this later, but for now, that's good. Here, we've got pages, filters, and marks. We call these cards. We would use the filters card if we wanted to add a filter. So maybe we'd only look at one category of product. And then marks. Marks relate to how things are displayed. So we can use this to adjust the color, the size of dots, where labels appear. The tooltip, we'll see in a second. If we hover over details in Tableau, it is interactive. It gives you information, or if we want to divide out by a level of detail. So these are our cards. This big space here is our workspace, or called, what is that called? The field, is that what it's called? The view, it's called the view. And this is where our visualization will show up. And then we've got the columns shelf, which corresponds to the x-axis, and the rows shelf, which corresponds to the y-axis. You don't have to remember that directly. I won't test you on it. But you'll just get a handle for how it works. How we make visualizations in Tableau is by taking one of our fields and dragging it into either the rows shelf or the column shelf. So if we wanted to see every category of product that we have, we would take category, drag it to the rows shelf, and here it tells us furniture, office supplies, and technology. So just taking our variables and dragging them into the rows shelf is a good way to explore what we're working with. We really do only have 3 categories. So hopefully that makes sense. Also, type of variable, I think I mentioned this before, but I want to integrate it with or explain it in light of these symbols. The ABC symbol is for text, otherwise known as a string variable. It contains letters that we cannot do math on them. The globe means we've got something geographical. Like if we take city and we double click on it, because it's a geographical variable, it has assigned to it a latitude and a longitude. You can see these down here in the measures category. But each of the cities in our data set, because of its latitude and longitude, can be placed on a map. And that's what the geographic indicator tells us. There are 363 cities that it cannot map. Those are probably places with names like Orange County, or the city of Orange in California, where there's an Orange in California and there's one in Florida. We would have to deal with that later, and we will deal with that later. The calendar means we've got a date variable, and that's all we've got here. In the reading notes from this week, there are a variety of links if you want more information. So up here on the top, I'm going to just show you right here the clear our workbook, but there are a variety of things. Obviously, we've got the icon or the logo that takes us back and forth. We can undo, we can redo, we can save. These will connect us to new data or pause if we're connected to a live data set. I'm not sure that you will see all of these on Tableau Public, but I think you'll see most of them. This adds a new worksheet. Now we've got sheet 1 and sheet 2. You can also do that down here. You can delete sheets just like you would in Excel. This duplicates our sheet, which can be very useful because often you'll spend time formatting or organizing or adding filters, and you want to keep all of that. So you can duplicate your sheet and that will preserve it. This will clear a sheet. That says swap rows and columns. The rows and columns are X and Y axis, so this flips your axis. So if you've got a scatter plot and you've got them backwards, you just flip the axis. These two sort, ascending or descending. This is a highlighting tool. This will allow you to group different things together. This adjusts whether or not you see labels. This adjusts the size of your view. We'll experiment with that later. And this hides and shows all of these different cards. So sometimes if you want to make a lot of room, I'll find myself clearing everything out. I'll try to get it all away so that my workspace takes up as much space as I can give it. And so here, if I reset cards, I can get them all back. Okay. The next thing to know is this Show Me tab. It shows the different types of graphs and visualizations you can make with your data. So you can make a table, you can make a heat map, you can make a highlight table, 2 different types of symbol maps, pie chart, bar chart, horizontal bars, stacked bars. You get the idea. Play with it. Okay, excellent. That is the introduction to our workbook and the worksheet. There are a few more things that we can look at later, but I'm going to stop here and we will come back and explore the data and make a handful of visualizations. See you in a minute.